Pushing into the first operating round of this set. Blue and green kind of decided, hey, stasis is a good thing. They built this up, made their runs, made their payouts, some good money. However, not too far behind in terms of total cash. We've got red here who's not making great money, but you know, it seems to be working out with that 25 coming from here. Now, granted, he has it too, and he's a little ahead by about that 25. So that caught red and green up, but blue is going ahead with his permit holdings. Red decided to actually drop a token, a criminal, or convicts. There. That should increase his capability of making some money. Next time he'll be at but it helps yellow too. Next time he'll be at 4, 5, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Now it might have made sense to like grab this. Well, no, I'm not going to be able to reach there. Shit. So drop it by 1 to like 12 because instead I'll be running this. Foregoing my home base. You know, you do what you do, right? Hooking this up made sense to get in there. Anyway, these guys were able to jump forward 2 spaces, but basically everybody's waiting for enough money for the next company to come out because nobody wants to buy that last 3 train. And again, this is the situation that causes people to want the train exportation. Me, I am thrilled with it. If the players cannot come to a decision to push the trains along, fine. Eventually, somebody's going to have so much money to have bad choices if they don't start another company. So, you know, somebody's going to do it. It's just the nature of the game. It does stretch the game out a little bit. I can understand why some people don't like it. For me, it's one of the key decisions in the game is that pace of the trains, and how you want to play with that is just too vital to take out of the player's hands and enforce that it's going to come out. Left with yellow. Again, we're kind of in a treading water type situation, so I'm not showing you too much right now. Though to note, with the delayed token placement, and one of the reasons people are kind of not thrilled with putting one, if you're not going to immediately buy a train or have some kind of definite gain from it. I mean, obviously you get some gain, but it's not immediate. So for example, red placing this token here, that did not increase their payout to the yellow level, but I've just increased yellows by a couple of bucks, you know. And I'm doing a favor for someone else by playing it in their spot. It's where I want it, and I want to see there because maybe I want my robot factory there. That looks like not a bad place since it might get me close to the tourism of Paradise City. Push into the next operating round. I just want to show you what happened down here. So both were at 60. Red goes first. They go up to 65, whereas here 60 to 75. Bigger jump. They've just surpassed them again. This price, this market has different price jumps than you'd expect by far. Usually this thing doesn't extend out very far. So if that kind of nature is happening where the lower price is significantly lower, you don't see this kind of jump ahead from down here. Usually you see a diagonal with the prices approximately the same, I think. I'm not sure. That's not quite what you see here either, though. So there's a little staggering in it all over the place that's going to cause some unexpected positioning gains by where people are. And notably, next time if these guys go forward 1, they stay in the same relative position. I mean, they're going to stay in the same relative position no matter what, but if they go forward 2 each, we get a much bigger jump because of that increase due to the going up levels on the price chart. All right, let's push another one out. I'm going to pick on something else. So yellow upgraded this, and it's not a great upgrade. I can go the long way to over here, which whatever. I could have instead gone the long way around to here. Neither one's really appealing those long routes, unless you're forced into them or have a humongous choo-choo. Just don't make a lot of sense. But my problem is here I'm hitting a doinker, which is just as bad as a long way, and there is nothing to get me down into alpha, which means I'm not going to get the quick path into here until we get up to browns, which doesn't happen until the 5 trains. And that could be a serious limitation on yellow. They may find themselves actually working their way down here instead of across the barrier. I like the prospects on blue and green a lot better, both because of the money they're producing right now, which is much higher, helps their players more, and also because the track that they've laid gets them control into the next tile in a way that the red and yellow players are kind of just on half the board. They're going to get themselves blocked out if things look like they're going to happen, as they're probably going to happen. But there's the scramble of, well, what about the other companies? There's 4 companies not in the game, but those 4 companies are all kind of situated in places where they're not really able to break in easily. This is an exception. This can break into the yellow-red world. That doesn't help yellow and red at all. This one can break into the yellow-red world with a play as well. But these two each require a couple of plays to get them into the blue-green world. So again, blue and green look like their half of the world looks much, much better to me. Pushed into kind of an icky world here. Green has decided to lay its token here. That's not a bad thing. But it is laying down the marker saying, you know, I want to be in here, and that probably forces blue to do the same thing. The question was here or here, and this gets me closer to the robot factory if that's what it goes with. One thing about this particular XX is I feel like there's a lot more room for cooperation between players. So what we're seeing with blue and green is almost a cooperative, symbiotic relationship going on there. I could have placed this token someplace, like here or here, where it's going to immediately increase my wealth, but it's only an extra buck, and of course, wherever I put it, it's going to increase my wealth so that, or my runs, so that blue probably wants to follow suit and do the same thing and use the same kind of routes. We have the same trains, we have the same track, so that just continually creates this kind of booster situation. Whatever happens, pink here is going to probably end up with a token here. And that opens up all kind of interesting stuff, except there are browns with 3 spaces. If blue or green can get that brown upgraded, neither one needs to lay a token there. That is not the case, I think, with the ooh-oohs. So this is closed out. It would be possible to go this way, though. And then with the grays, they just kind of follow the browns, except you could, as far as I can tell, go from a 2 brown to a 3 gray, which, again, that causes some weird disruption in terms of the tile mix. There's no letters on them or anything to prevent so that, like, once you choose a certain letter, you're stuck with something. All right, let me push on, and blue will probably upgrade this and create another buck that way. And that is indeed the case. Making a little bit more money each time, having a little bit better position with the permits. Blue feels pretty comfortable matching whatever green's doing. They could play something different. They could have said, hey, look, I'll buy the extra train, or I'll do something a little funky, see what I can set up that might give me a little edge. But I got the little edge already, right? Green is the one who should be looking for something, and unfortunately they have to go first. So whatever they do, they set it up a little ahead of time so that blue can just follow place. There was something I wanted to say that wasn't that, but my brain got stuck on that. Oh, yeah, so we're making pretty good money now with these companies that are making 3. So this is one of the things you could do. You could swallow at this point, because this may be better money than I'll make with a 3 and a 4. But I don't know if it is, you know. It's probably around the same realm. Basically, this is probably the floor for what a 3 and a 4 is going to make. So it looks like there's plenty of room for things to happen. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. It's already set up. No need to really worry too much. We're going to come in close to this kind of money. And this is the time to be making cash. It's the early part of the game. It's when you're going to float that extra company or whatever. And I think we're going to see 4 companies float during the next stock round, 1 per player. The last game I actually had one person who ended up with 3 companies, which I think is probably an extreme rarity. But basically, they were able to raid a company from someone and not lose one. That kind of thing does happen when you're playing very small player counts. It certainly happens also. I mean, I've seen it in 6-player games. I've seen somebody with 3 companies in 1830. So usually me. One of the companies probably isn't worth owning. All right. As we move to the 3 trains, I would be making a little more money by playing that T here. I haven't chosen to do so because it's part of my little edge over green. It's really my whole little edge, to tell you the truth. I have 3 shares here, 4 shares here. The 4 shares here, 4 times 3 would make 12 extra bucks into my pocket, which is what, you know, it is losing $3 compared to what I'm getting here. And the $3 here is 9 more bucks. I'm at 21. If I was on my own and not going to benefit green just as much, I probably would have played it at that point, because money is going into my company treasury. I've got a fair percentage of that company. I'm okay. But as it stands, not only is everybody riding blue, but also whatever gain I get from playing that, I have just translated my $15 an operating round into a bonus for me, but a bonus for green as well that's exactly equal. They have exactly the same stock holdings in their companies and would make the same money in the same proportions at this point. And it is just, you know, there's certainly going to be a point where, yeah, I'll help us both because I'm going to lose this otherwise. But that point is not now. I don't really usually do this, but I'm going to pause as I go into a stock round because I got to make dinner soon. And I think this is going to be a particularly hairy one. If it was like any of the previous ones, I would just do it. It would take 5 minutes. But I think this one's going to take a little while, take a little thought. I don't want to screw up and piss people off. Because I've already promised. But what we've seen, like I said, pretty much stasis. Everybody has a fair amount of cash in their hands, although only 104 yellow. The one person not following that, the 30 share, 30% share initial start. So they started their values a little less. They have a little less cash. They have weak permits, you know. I had thoughts that I'm building the better company out of it, but I kind of have less money in my company as well because the runs haven't been that great. Less even than here. How'd that happen? I don't know. Because red has not had good runs either. But everybody basically has enough money to buy themselves a 4 train, and most of the players, I think, are pretty close to being able, if they sell some shares maybe, to buy themselves another company. And it's kind of at that point where, yeah, if you don't buy it now, you might not be getting it, you know? Because here's the thing. It's not like, oh, I don't have 2 companies, so I'm gonna have the priority. That's maybe the case, you know, but you may be invested in shares up to, you know, your cash on hand. It's kind of like, well, I didn't take a lot of stock actions, so I'm not going to be going, I'm going to be going first. That may be the case, but it could be that there's somebody who's just, you know, the ordering could be such in an 1830 game, or most 18xx's, where someone is constantly dropping the priority on another player. I'm usually a very, very active trader, which, if there's not some great reason that I need priority, there's a good chance that whoever is sitting to my left will be getting priority most turns. Which is a very safe thing, because I usually also have, like I said, a company that probably shouldn't exist anymore or isn't worth holding. Anyway, that's where we are right now, and I'll be back in a bit. This is an important point in the game. The first time where I think people might have enough money, should have enough money, to be able to buy another corporation. But there's some danger here. So in particular, yellow has the worry, I only have 40% of my company. I don't necessarily want to buy, I don't want to buy a 10% share, but I don't necessarily want to buy more of my company. It's happy, if nobody forces me to, that's fine. But if I sell this $85, that puts me to 265. Not quite enough to start it at 90 with 3 shares, and so I'd be starting it a little low, and I'd probably be eating up all the money that I need to protect my company, my main company. So I actually think valor is the better part of discretion here. I have enough money to buy up shares of the green and red company, much as I would love to start another company, because I only have 1-2 trained and there's 2 people who have 2 on their company. That's an interesting factor. These 2 may not want to start a company because theirs are making significantly better earnings than anyone else's. So, it's the shake it up aspect of 18xx, which maybe leaves it in his hands. He may have enough to do so. On the other hand, sometimes it makes sense to shake it up even when you're doing fine. 2 shares, so he picked up a red and a green, taking it from the companies. We want to make sure that we fill out our stock portfolio. Even though we might lose a little money on the red one, we're not going to lose anything on the green, and we're okay. That puts us to 2. 2 has $250, a couple of shares, at least one of which I probably want to keep, but in theory. So I have 85, and 85 is 170, and 250, 370, 420. I have $420 to play with the possibility that maybe I want to keep 70 for a 5th share of this if I absolutely need to. What happens if I sell one share and not the other, and which one would I rather keep? And both companies look moderately healthy. There's more money in here, but that's because an extra share got bought out. So let's say I just sell 85, the 85 share, although I could sell both and guarantee myself buying a 10% share of this, or, well, no, I don't want to buy a yellow one. Okay, so let's take a look at the 85 option. 250, 335. 335, 3 nines is 27, 4 eights is 32. I think buying 4 shares at 32 makes sense. This guy controls the special token, which I think is more valuable. So I'm going to sell this and start something. What am I going to start? Well, yeah, good question. Like I said, everything's kind of cut off. Normally, you would want to just aim for the thing that you can kind of play around with. That's in your world. the other hand, I'm not sure that's terribly advantageous. I see no advantages to anything else in particular. So I think I'm going to open up at 80 bucks a share some of the blacks and pick them up. Wait, down here. It's red. Red who's buying? Oh, red might be different. Red doesn't have this, so that's less valuable. So what about this? Well, this hooks me up right away. Yeah, that looks great. I'll buy the purples. Sounds good. 40% of purple at 80 bucks a share. I immediately dump the value by dumping another share in here. There's some iffiness to that. Like, do I really have to do it that way? The answer is no. I could wait and see whether somebody buys a share of it, but nobody's gonna fucking buy a share of it. The only reason to buy a share of it is to try to force ownership out of my hands. And if somebody's doing that kind of crap, it's going to disrupt everything. So basically, somebody could buy, if they have enough cash to buy 50% of this company, they could steal it from me if it is far and away the best company out there. I don't know that it is. It's the best company for red, maybe. You know? So that gets me through the first two players, and that's just a matter that I'm hooked up and able to cooperate with it. If somebody else grabs that, the only problem with somebody else grabbing it is I'm disallowed from starting another company. Whereas they can grab it and start another company if they just happen to have that kind of money. That puts us over here. Well, if we're seeing, and right now we have what, 300, that can't be right. That doesn't seem like enough money. We were talking about, oh, I'm over on the red. Yeah, $400, that's right. So I bought five shares were released at $80 each. That's $400. That is enough money to buy the 3 and the 4 train, which isn't that bad a setup, to tell you the truth. The only problem with it, of course, is, well, it gets rid of the 2 train here. Red might buy a train off of it or something, but because purple doesn't have the track set up yet, whereas red does. But purple could jump in and get a pretty good track lie, and maybe red gets a 3 and a 4 as well, which doesn't sound right, but okay. Player 3 here. Well, I'm almost assured to be losing this. Does that mean that I want to force another train out? You know, do I want more 4s? Good question. How much money do I have left? If I buy my 20% share out of here, I'm hurting my company. I'm putting more cash in it, but I'm hurting it overall. On the other hand, I have 265 bucks. I could buy basically 1 share safely of yellow and maybe a purple if I really, or whatever else comes out. I probably want to start my own company. So let me do a figuring on that. Now this is the blue player who's up here, and gosh, for him, it is not at all clear what's appealing. So is pink down here actually more appealing than this location? One advantage to this is it's close into this, which is still a valuable location, but it's not as valuable as this city or this city. So I think pink looks more appealing, and I will be buying that. I'll figure out what the optimal price is for me based on what I can sell, etc. But remember, like with this guy, I gotta keep enough money to protect my 40% of my established company. I don't want to see player 4, I don't know if anybody else could do this, well, he might be able to, who already has 1 share, being able to buy 4 shares of my company, which would only run 340 bucks. I'm not sure he has 340 bucks. Doesn't look like it. It's 200 there. Red brings him to 270. He can't sell any of the rest, so probably wouldn't lose it there. What about over here? Can he come up with 340? Probably not. The same financing option went through, keeping an extra share back. Player 3. And that puts me to player 4. Again, the same kind of question. Hey, is there stuff out there I want to buy up? Now, I could actually choose not to start a company and buy a lot of shares. One thing I'd have to keep in mind is, look, this guy's got 10 bucks, this guy's got 19 bucks. I don't want them starting a third company. They're allowed 10 certificates, but with all these 20% shares, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, 7, I don't know. Not specified. I'm not playing him as such. He's got room for another company in there. And, you know, let's call this 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can hold 3 companies at 60% and still have room for a little bit of wiggle room. Assuming you can get all the 20%, which I think the answer is you almost always can. If somebody doesn't let you have that, you can arrange it so that they're very unhappy. But anyway, over here, it's an interesting question. How much do I want to rush things out? As opposed to, and I could buy 2 10% shares, but again, any 10% shares is a problem, because then I'd be putting myself at 60%. If I sell those 2 10% shares, I give up my company. So I kind of have to wait on this, or else forever be stuck with 10% shares in my portfolio for my own companies, which is unpleasant. How much money? I don't have a whole hell of a lot here. I have 200 bucks, you know. I'm in kind of the same situation as everyone else. Do I want to do the same thing as everyone else? Or would I be better off buying, what can I buy? A yellow, which is not fantastic. That gives me 85 bucks there. And maybe one of these new ones. Okay, let's think about, what about conversion time? 210, 275. I am significantly less funded than some of these other players. But there's an opportunity there. I could buy it 3 shares at 90. Now remember, there's problems with the 3-share purchase, right? The 4-share purchase says you're only putting 5 shares out total. Same thing either way. But the 4-share purchase is saying that you are open for that next 2-point share. We had to see some real gymnastics to get from 3 shares back to 4 shares with 2 20% certificates. So that's kind of an iffy thing. What I'm going to do, definitely there's an advantage to holding companies in this, because that gets you the 20% shares. You kind of don't get them otherwise. So what I'm going to do, and this benefits multiple companies, which is a tremendous capability, I guess. I didn't manage to use it in my last game. It just died. I think odd, I'm going to start it at that 90 bucks a share. Even, I am going to, I guess, just invest in crap. All right, I am just going to be an investor, which means I'll buy one of these for 65 and one of these for 70. That's 135. Wow, let me see. 140, 205. Hey, I can buy 3 shares. That's actually kind of cool. But I can only buy 2 at once. Others feel particularly threatened, so I have another shot to buy one of these at 70. And basically, I'm gonna have a fairly nice investment portfolio. In a lot of games, being the investor is kind of a good thing. Like in 1830, a lot of the times it's not the best thing to be the guy who's starting a lot of companies. At the end of the game, you want to have a couple of companies, 2 or 3, if you can manage it, because of the certificates, the bonus of the 20% certificates. In this, it looks like it's more important, but I'm going to test it out because getting that started at 90 looked somewhat unappealing. We'll see how it all flows out. Else is just passing. They've got what they want. Now, the people who have the new companies feel a little bummed. If they had not sold a share to here, they would, and everything else happened the same. This guy would have bought their shares anyway, so they didn't have to lose stock value, which probably isn't too big a deal. Well, it can be. But also, they wouldn't have lost, because you never rise, right? You're never sold out. But also, let me think. They would have an extra certificate sitting in their corporate coffers. On the other hand, if the option to hurt these companies didn't factor in, he probably would have started his own company. So, should you have been flexible? Yeah, probably. It really didn't do me any good to sell that right away. It could be sold at any point during the stock round, and it does not matter whether or not you perform the last action. It doesn't hurt you to do so. So delay would have been a wise choice. And it would have probably inflicted a different decision on him. Maybe this is the decision these guys want. So now we determine who goes first, and that's over here with 1. Looks like 2 comes down here, 3 over here, and 4 with his $7, which is kind of a pity. He might end up missing out on his second company just because of what happened. Obviously, nothing's sold out, and we push into the operating rounds. A little reflection, this is very different from the last time I played, and I tend to explore games kind of that way. The thoughts that I had and expressed before, maybe about the emergent qualities in the game, etc., had something to do with that high pressure cooker type situation where lots of trains were bought. I think a fair number were bought here. The next set of companies pushed it through the 3s, but there were 4 of them at once. Now there's only 2. We only have 6 of the 8 companies out. That's a more laid back game. Less pressure on the train flow. And I may find that that's less interesting. I don't know. A lot of times the effect of how much pressure you put on the trains shows a lot about the game. That is one dial that can really heavily impact how the game plays in different situations. I really liked what I saw with the high pressure game in terms of the trains coming out fast. I mean, not ridiculously fast. This game doesn't support ridiculously fast. There's no B&M, B&O, or anything like that that can just, I can run 4 trains right away. I want them all. There is nothing along those lines in here. There might be some track setups that eventually you could run that many trains before time runs out. But, we certainly see that here, but that you could make reasonable money off them before time runs out. I don't think that's very likely, though. I think if you really push the trains and buy 4 2s right off, assuming you have the money, which I don't know if anybody does, or 3 2s and a 3 or whatever, you're going to be really hurting. On the other hand, the 2 2s and a 3 looks like a very valid option. But this time, we're going to see this hump in the mid-game section as we enter that mid-game section. A little bit more gradual. And what does that do? Well, I don't know. Since I haven't expressed really what happened the last time, and it would be hard to express. It's not like, oh my God, it wasn't, this lightning thing like 1817, for example, had these real mind-blowing type experiences. This is not going to be like that, I don't think. It certainly wasn't last time. There were some interesting situations that came out from the way the game, some of the mechanisms in the game interacted with one another. That worked very nicely, I thought. But those might not work as nicely with a slower deployment of trains. That doesn't make the game worse or whatever. I saw some things I wasn't expecting, which I thought were kind of cool, but they weren't mind-blowingly cool. They weren't like I don't know. Yeah. Um, it's hard for me to put these things into play. It felt like a tight game with some very different styles of play available with the hard press of the trains. In particular, the fact that somebody ended up with three trains. Some of that has to do with those 20% shares and how they impact. You can steal companies from people in a way that you can't in most 18xx games. Not that you can't steal companies, but you can do it in different ways. And also, of course, the stock order could also throw a curveball in there. I'm careful to try not to allow that to happen, but I think it's quite possible when you're facing something that does throw you a few curveballs to make some serious mistakes because of them. Qualities that I felt kind of surprising was, you know how we had sort of this delay on the train where everybody's sitting there, nobody wants to touch it. That's fairly common in an 18xx game because that last four train tend to be bad buys. They don't get you, even if you buy it in the first round, they may get you one less operating round than every other. And as soon as they start sitting out there, they become less and less attractive as time goes on. So, yeah, purple. Pink did not want to start at a higher value than purple because then they're forced into the buy the 3 train. Maybe, I don't know. $460. I have that, so I can buy 2 trains. That means that I can import or export, whatever, a 4 train over to the blue, and wow, things are better than what this guy has with his red and purple. Ew, red and purple, yuck. But yeah, something kind of similar to that, which is a hesitancy to play your pieces. Tokens? I'm not sure which space is going to be important. It's not clear. It's not like 1830 where, yeah, I want to have a space in the Delaware and Hudson space. Definitely want that. You know, that's just important. Or I want one at this or whatever. It's not clear where the value on the board is going to develop, right? And some of that value is things like this. It's not clear that this guy isn't going to fuck over whatever the hell you do. And what I had was a particular balance between the infrastructure push and the government decision, where both of them, they were in different hands, but both of them could be used to open up a space essentially for a dot. Now, this one very clearly, you just throw somebody out, and now you can dot in there. You could also throw yourself in someplace, but that probably isn't the best case unless you use up all your dots, and blue only has 1 dot left, so who knows. But the infrastructure push allowed you to, like, hey, nobody else can get to the Browns. I can make that a 3-dot city and slip in there, you know. But as long as this was out there, if I made it a 3-dot city and slipped in, and these 2 players were kind of in the lead competing with each other, he could throw me out and put himself in there. And on the other hand, if he puts himself in there before I do the infrastructure push, I'm immune to his government decision because it's gone, and I can open that space up and slip in, right? So as soon as he uses the government decision, I'm free to use the infrastructure push. As soon as I use the infrastructure push, he was free to use the government decision. And we're having something similar to that here in the hallway with the Robot Factory and the Paradise City being kind of held off because they're making better money. They're making good enough money by being held off, which is a different situation than I saw. I, right away played them as soon as the break-even point was there, and they helped someone else. And maybe someplace will open up where they're more attractive to me than they are to anyone else, and may actually encourage track builds to help me and all kind of crap like that. So there's some really interesting mechanisms going on here because of the fact that the cities are not fixed value, and it's the player's actions that determines the valuation of the city. That reminds me of something I always wanted to do. I've talked in a couple of XX games about this, which is sort of the let's mix the stock market of an XX game with the industrial improvement of, I don't know, games like Steam or whatever, where you're able to fiddle. I think Steam does this. I don't remember which one does. Chicago Express, Steam, one of them allows you to fiddle. I think it's Steam. Allows you to fiddle around with the production capabilities of different cities. The only game that I know that does that is Bullfrog Goldfield. And it had some real flaws, and it also wasn't an XX style stock market. So what I'm looking at is kind of something like Silverton or Lords of the Sierra Madre, but with actual, capitalization through the stock market, as opposed to, just sort of, you can just buy this property and then you develop it or whatever. So, this doesn't do that in a very direct sort of way. I don't have commodities that I'm improving or factories that I'm building up or whatever, but I have something that naturally fits in nicely into the 18XX universe. And it's a very clever way to do it. It doesn't, of course, the way I would do it is to have a separate set of stocks for industries and start them up in towns and all kind of stuff, and try to create a little microcosm of, a double game or something like that, which probably no one would like. I certainly wouldn't enjoy it as much as I do my XXs as a game, but I would be attracted to it as a chaotic, representation of reality. But anyway, I wanted to go into that because I feel like that hesitancy to do things is actually a really important piece in this game that doesn't show up as much in other XX games. It happens with the train rush. Sometimes it happens with the token. I don't know which city is going to be the important gatekeeper. But usually it's a matter of, well, I better get one of them, like if you don't know precisely which way into New York is going to happen in 1830. Well, if you block one of them off, you at least prevent people from being able to interfere in that direction. Here, though, wow, it's a very different thing because the tokens that you place increase the value of the things. They influence people towards incentivizing them to build towards that space. Even if they can't go through it, it's a more valuable town. Just so much weird shit going on in it that doesn't feel like there's a lot of rules to cover it, right? It's just, there is some overhead, there is some overhead, not in the rules so much, but in the play activities of it. But it's just sort of very, very elegantly created something that I'm not used to seeing in an XX game. And we're seeing it here too. Okay? Maybe a little more blasé about it because it's my second play. Here's the part where the game's limited counter mix starts, the tile mix starts really hitting you. There are two yellow broad curves. Nothing else. No more. Green thinks, oh, I'm in some bonus position. I could broad curve in here, drop a dot there, or maybe somewhere else, and set up a nice run. Of course, that I can't pay off right away. But no, I can't. And of course, here comes one of the common delay situations in 18XX. I don't want to upgrade a yellow curve because then I hand it over to the next player, blue, to do that same thing that was the advantage that I wanted to do. So upgrading this for some reason isn't going to work, and I'm really not sure I want to lay track. This is one of the things that happens in the game. In the last game I played, I went through a long period where nobody was laying any track. I think we saw it here too, even early in the game, where nobody was really doing anything, because I don't rightly recall whether we saw that. It seems weird this early in the game. I know in my last game though, there was a period of basically a set of operating rounds where I'm just like, yeah, I don't want to do anything. Because I'm not going to improve my track, and I'm just going to be spending money that maybe sets up track that I don't actually want there. But we're definitely in that kind of situation right now. I don't see anything I terribly want to do. Green does not own pink. I don't want to set up their track. Maybe I want to set up something that screws that track, but I can't. All I could do is hook it up. Yeah. Maybe I want to upgrade here and move into there, but no, I don't see any point to that. Something really fucked up is here where I have two reds. I think I grabbed a red as a brain fart instead of a yellow. I don't know if I owe 20 bucks, which might not have left me the money to do things, but I definitely don't want this. So let's see, what did I just make? I just made about 100 bucks off this, and shit, I think I didn't have the money. Okay, I'll let it sit. Yeah, no, I can't let that sit because I will own that company. There's no question that it will not be in good shape. My assumption was that I could buy a yellow, but I think the yellow would have been at 85, the red would have been at 65. That means I'm 20 bucks off. 105 here. 88 plus 22 is 110. I would have been just short. So instead of buying one of these new guys, I would not have bought the pink, and I would not have bought the red, and I would have gotten the yellow. And I gotta fix that because that would destroy this guy and give him, a powerful company, although not well placed on the board, but whatever. Just did a little fixeroo for that. I knew something was wrong when he ended up with that many shares. That should not have happened. So yeah, I'm not fully fleshed out, and I ended up with more cash. That more cash actually means I should have the one position and everybody else is shifted. And this is just a screw up to the extent that the game is over for him if I had allowed it to sit. And I don't want to do that, to be natural. Now, what the fuck am I doing? I just pulsed him up. I don't think I've paid out the cash yet. He's running a 15-ish share over there. And yeah. That was simply a matter of I grabbed the wrong share and I paid the wrong, I paid for it too, I'm sure, because I knew when I calculated that this was not as rosy a situation as I ended up with, and that didn't make sense to me. It may have something to do with the price locations, but I'm not sure. The differences of the nature of the stock chart with things not quite where I was, and thinking that I don't know. I can't come up with an excuse for this. I think it was just a fuck up. So yeah, I have to pay out yellow. And again, yellow's not doing anything with their track lay. Can't afford to waste cash in this game. Afford to waste cash in any XX game. You can't afford to make track lays that aren't clear to do you any good because they cost you cash no matter what. An interesting position actually. Yellow did this run without laying any track. I'm actually considering dropping a dot at this point. We're not getting the breakthrough here. What happens here? Well, there's so many companies getting close. If I want this dot, I need to put it now. Now, what is my situation? Nothing special here. Robot Factory is an M or a C. Well, it doesn't really matter. Red's already put out one of its C's there, so it's indicated an interest in dropping it there. I do not want to drop my T because that's going to be important over on the blue side of things. I might have a use for that M. I'm going to drop my C here. I'm not going to make money off of it. My main point for this is to close this route up. And so what's the problem with this? Well, the problem is I would kind of like you know, to be hitting all kinds of cities that are rich in dots, but if they're all rich in dots, they're not all going to be my dots probably, and I'm not going to be able to run through them. So unlike most XX games, this is an iffy situation. This is clear as day that I want to be there if this was 1830 or something like that, because this is the path, you know? Let's block off the end of the path. Maybe this would be more valuable, but this looks like the key bridge point, you know? Maybe there'll be a way going through here or here, but right now there's not. But because the valuation is reliant on the dots, it kind of means I'm going to be going through some wasteland spaces there if I'm not careful. Of course, I might be swinging up this way. Who knows? Who knows? It's all a mystery. No choo-choos, obviously. Nobody wanted that 3 train before when it was actually making money. And now, here's what's really fucked up. So these guys are at $70 a share. He's only at 65, and way over here. No way you would think that, right? You know, if you're used to XX. No way you would think something that far to the right is actually lower in value. That yellow dot kind of screws things up for purple. I laid my track here. I built what I want to. I got some interesting choices. I got infrastructure push. I could push this up to a brown space in time. I could do it right now. Grab myself a dot. I got a lot of choo-choos. I could also drop the robot factory in there and make money with both. I think this is the time to do it. That, of course, makes this really potent if Blue's interested in kicking something out, which they may well be. So, infrastructure push is a free track lay. I can just do this, right? No, it's not. I can't do this till my turn. And there's no reason not to wait until red goes for this, but I probably will put that there with the intention of purple and red will both be operating out of here. It's a nice central location and it creates some sweetness for me. The thing that's like a major deal, but it's standard for XX. A 3 and a 4 train bought here. Again, I'm not sure if the 3 and the 4 is a better deal than just a 4 over on the pink one, but it costs more money. That 3 train, you know, everybody's been like shying away from it. I could have bought it over here and been running for more money if I knew I was getting a company that I could deal it out to. So, I don't know. I don't know why I waited. And that's one thing, that 3 train becomes kind of neat because that last blocker train can often be used on a startup. And I didn't even think to do that in a lot of XX games. I don't know why I'm not thinking. But all the 2s are gone. So we see much, much weaker companies out there. Other than the purple one. The purple one looks sweet now. So now with pink, wow. So I also have interesting choices because of my tokens. I have the T token, which I would love to put in a pink-blue confluence, which could be up here, but why? Well, it could be here. If it's gonna be there, does that make sense? Because I got this, I could boot that out of there and fling it out. Of course, brown track isn't available right now. It's only available to him. So I've got some interesting choices here. The thing is, I'm only running a 4 train. Might not really need to do what I'm talking about. Let's see. I can't upgrade this. I can't upgrade any of these. This is the only thing I can upgrade. It's not going to get me anywhere new. If I build something over here, I have to go through a boinker. I'll probably pay to upgrade this without any great advantage coming from it. Although, hold on. Nope. It's coming out of here. This does not connect. These connect to here going through a doinker. That's not pleasant. This is prevented because somebody still owns that. Well, because it still exists. So I look like I'm running a 3 train, but maybe the 5s come out. And if they don't, maybe I do shit. Okay. What shit? I don't know. Because this might end up the T space if things get really weird, right? Not if purple puts a C there. So if there's 2 C's there, I can't change the type of space it is. But if there's only 1 C there, I could fling that C out, if I can hook up, drop my own C there, upgrade the space, drop another C there, right? Oh, I'm sorry, not a C. Drop a T there, drop another T there, drop that there, and I can completely change the nature of things. But if this gets played, I can't do it either. So I won't be able to get all of the goodies in one place by playing with my capabilities, which is at first what I thought I could do. Yeah, I think I'll pay to upgrade this, buy my train, and see what happens on my next turn. And the track lights are such that this is the only piece that was left. There were a bunch of them. There's 3 of each of these, both directions. Not a lot of other options, or no other options are left right now, but yeah. Again, there's duplicates of tracks that don't allow you certain directions at all. And then there's... So like I said, no X anywhere in the game. Why? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's as silly as, no boot plug or no one of these in 1830. It's just like there's something missing that you think you should have, and you're used to it always being there. All right. On to red. Red has interesting choices. I'm probably going to play some of them. Let me think. Well, I dropped the Robot Factory here. Again, I'm planning on purple going in there. Of course, this changes everything, right? But I'm planning on the infrastructure push, purple going in there. Getting control of this, it being a very valuable space. Great. And yellow's like, whoo, baby. Yeah. And you can't help but help people in this. We're down to only $9 a share because we're only running 1 train, and obviously we need another train if that's the case. Did I lay track? I didn't lay track. I probably want to lay track. Let me think about that. So if I want to lay track, I don't want to lay that. If I want to lay track, I want to lay something to help these get better. I have 2 companies with a 3 and a 4 train. That's probably not fantastic, but again, it happens to be the best that's out there right now by far. We've sold everything out. We've gotten rid of some of our goodies and our toys, and we are done with the operating round and have to flip tokens over. Nobody's making big jumps and runs. That may happen again soon as we start getting two trains per company starting to produce. This is time. So green didn't lay any track. Made a grand total of $10 a share. Paid it out, of course. You get crap, you pay it out. No reason to add tokens. I don't think this... there's some danger to not tokening that. But I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how the map's developing still. And I don't need that. Now, the question is, do I want a damn 4 train? And I look over and I say, you know what? I got 2 people who are doing pretty well. Okay. I got blue and pink. 2 companies that are doing shitty. 2 companies doing shitty is worse than my 1 company doing shitty. that 4 train will be useful in my next run. There's no question about that. But it has a limited lifespan, and I think this is the time when I can say, screw it, I'm not buying because somebody else is going to swallow that piece of shit. And the 5 trains, they're not permanent. They cost more. Maybe the 4 is better, maybe the 5 is better, but they might be permanent. They're sort of semi-permanent trains. Remember, somebody has to go out of their way to crush the 5 trains. Now, can I get 2 5 trains for $700? That doesn't look likely. Even maybe I wouldn't go out of my way to get semi-permanent trains though, because they're just not that. Oh, I actually can't. I don't have room for it because I have this piece of shit. So yeah, if I buy a 5 train, I might end up with like a 5 and a 6 on this company, and be in a position where somebody has to take a hit to take me down, and to force the trains out in an uglier fashion. Of course, I might end up with, just the 5 on here after some tweaking, and it ruins me. But whatever. We'll see. We'll see how that works out. So on to blue. Shitty turn for making money. I could play the T. Could drop it here. Bump green out of their home space into who knows where. Doesn't matter. Anywhere on the board. Could be way up here or whatever the hell. Which would really be fucked up, but why not? Clears my board, makes everything sweet. Another option would be to clear this. I can't get my T there though. That's the problem. And these are able to link up. So I can get the T over to the robots, and that's sweet. Okay. Yeah, sweet is the word for today. For whatever reason. So if I do that right now, what am I going to gain? Otherwise, I have that 10 run that I have already paid out. I end up making $1 more with per share with blue, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and $1 more with pink, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The money's there, but cash in the pocket sounds. I mean, it's such a close amount. I'm going to leave that there. That leaves me more flexibility. We see what happens rather than drop it right now. Here's the problem. The 5 train is almost there, right? This is the last 4. Shit. So I can get pink in here anyhow, unless green upgrades that to a 2-space brown, and then I throw them out. And that's their own fault, right? So maybe I don't want to throw them out of there, right? All right. So I don't think we're playing any of our little toys. The problem is train 20 is coming up. It's not real close. That's the 6s. The last of the 6s, but it is coming up, and we got to make sure we play those things before we get to train 20. We have to do it during an operating round of one of our own companies, from what I can understand. I have a second company. I don't like having 2 4 trains between my companies, but I buy the 4 train. That opens up the 5 for yellow to buy. But what's kind of cool about that is I can do the upgrade, drop the token in, all kind of goodies. Yellow has upgraded a track. If I'm going to be running a 5 train, what's it going to be doing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 5. Do I want this? I don't know. I can't reach it right away. I don't think I'm going to drop a token. I think I'm just going to buy the 5 train for 350. Big head of cash. That has major effects. Primarily that we're swinging into the brown tracks now. And it's kind of nice. They're positioned on here. I like the information display, maybe because I've seen it before in 21 Moon. You start getting used to things after you see them. It helps with the gray's coming out when? Not on the 6s. At least it tells me real clearly, and that's real helpful. I hope I did that right. Yellow is in the right place. Red goes before the new ones at this point. Red does not have a slot for a train. Interesting position because I could have fiddled things around and stuff. It's not available. Because of the way things are set up, this is loose. And actually it's under a piece. I don't know what that means if the piece moves or whatever. I don't know if it protects my piece. Again, that kind of stuff's not spelled out very well. It was not able to be in a space of its own. The owner can place a free white robot factory in any hex with an MRC colony token on it. That's allowed because there was a C there. This extra token can be placed under an existing colony token or in a free spot. If placed in a separate slot, it will block train passage according to known moves. What happens if this is done? The owner can pick up and move any colony token except a T token. I don't think this is a colony token, which is connected to a corporation and to another free colony space. So the question is, does this protect red? If red is removed from here, is that like now a blocking piece? I don't know. That's not specified, and I played it as if it wasn't in my last game, I think. I don't know. But if it is a blocking piece, that gives a little bit more strength to the, hey, I set up that robot factory. You could take me out of control of it, but you're not going to grab it, which is kind of an interesting capacity, and I think actually probably makes the most sense. But I have opened this up. Is this dangerous? There's still no broad curve here. For anybody to get in there. Purple's going to get up there, and yellow is already in there. So I feel safe doing this, and this gave me an upgrade that I'm going to be running 2 trains through. If the 5 came out, I don't have to use this. I can push up to gray next time. Gray doesn't get me any more spaces, though. The 3 spaces is the most I'm going to get. I did have to think a little bit. It wasn't too important about where the prongs were coming out, where the tracks were coming out. So I made a run of 25 a share. I am low on cash, but I have 3 shares of my company. I'm gonna get 75 bucks. I got 3 shares that I can sell at 70 bucks a share right now, but they're gonna go up in value. I can't help myself. I'm gonna pay out. Just can't say no to money. Some people are more conservative at this point. I'm like, no, man. Run as hard as you can until you realize you shouldn't have been doing it. It hurt because, hey, that's worth 250. This is 70 times 3 is 210. I go up 2 spaces. That makes it even more attractive. I just upped the value of my stocks. With the way the rules looked like they were written about being able to finance any old train with your personal money, man, you totally want to do this because you're like, well, you know, a couple $100 for a train is well worth it at some points, and you can just push those trains out. I think by keeping that sort of standard limitation in instead of adhering to the typo, it really was a cut and paste error as far as we can tell. I think the designer is absolutely right in saying, yeah, let's not go there. That's a dangerous place to go. It really is, because it means you always want to run for good money rather than ever swallow, except under certain very special circumstances. So what have we done? We ran, we bought our train. Did we want a dot? I think we decided no. We could improve this, but yeah, I don't see it. And we're going to basically be running the same run over here with purple, but we'll upgrade more cities and stuff. Yeah, I have too many trains on my purple, so I'm not going to make anywhere near the same money. Very shortly I will, as soon as I drop that token. But right now I am running a 4 train out of here with nowhere to go. So that's what, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120. Looks like 140 on the 4 train. That's going to get a lot better very shortly, up to the red level and a little better. And of course we'll pay that out because it's shitty, but it's not enough to get me a double boost. Interesting world now here. Pink just went. What did I talk about? Did I talk about purple? Was there something about purple I wanted to discuss? I don't think so. We got our token there, so we're going to have our good run. Pink goes. Pink runs, spends to upgrade some track to get myself a space for a dot. Great. I will put my dot in there. I'm all set up for that T to show up and make that a super valuable place, and green gets to play in there because we're not going to kick them out. Why should we? You know, we may kick them out of here or somewhere else. We have now opened up a way into here, which shit, that's a wide curve. We didn't want that. We wanted a different piece. We wanted this piece. Let me just change how that goes. That's gonna go like this. Whoops, not that piece. We want this piece. Okay. So yeah, let me just upgrade that track, or change that track, not upgrade. Okay, so the big deal why I want this piece, I need a hand. Okay, fix that. You know, the laminated counter, laminated board, they get kind of this weird statickiness and they become harder to move. But anyway. And it's absolutely fine if you don't happen to be videotaping with one of your hands tied up on the camera. So what's going on here? Why did I want to go this way? If I go this way, I go into here, it takes a wide curve. If I go this way, I thought it went to a wide curve. It takes a straight across. And again, it's just hard to visualize what's going on. And obviously, if this wasn't here and if we had little lines across, it would be really clear. But that still doesn't really help the outer circle. Of course, I think outer circle connections, the outer frame connections, are a lot harder are a lot less likely to be used and to be desired, and therefore maybe the extra thinking won't hurt that much. But yeah, I'm really having trouble processing this information. Yeah, I just have a very geometric brain of a certain type, and it's used to things that aren't clear here. Okay, so I've just played pink. I have some options. I am sitting here. I could have swallowed. It was only 130 bucks though, so I paid that out. But now I only have 215 bucks, and my choo-choo's 350. That's unacceptable. I'm allowed to release. So one of these would get me 140, which would get me to 350 something. Well, that's still not enough, but let's throw it out there. So that's 140 bucks, and then this brings me to 195 bucks because boink boink. And that'll put me to 200. Let me make sure the 140 wasn't enough. Hold on. Let's just double check because we don't want to make this mistake here. 340, 355. Oh, 350 is fine. Okay, screw it. We'll keep this. We'll go to there. 140 bucks, 150 bucks, 350 bucks. We're in great shape. We released a 20% share into here. It only goes down one because only one certificate went out. And I had enough cash to buy a 5 train, which I really wanted. Another option would have been to juggle trains. I don't like to do that if I can help it. I don't think, you know, stripping a train off someone, getting a run off them. Here, I just threw some shares out. That's great. Yes, I reduced my stock value. Not so great, but especially since it probably will never recover that space, right? That's a big thing to consider in this game. I laid my token. I did not want to bump anyone to do that. I definitely do not want to play Paradise City until Blue is ready to make their run. It wasn't worth it for $10 for each of these. And we're rocking into the stock round. I'm going to add the stock round to this video because I think that it's important to understand what's happened on, like, I just linked the stock round to the operating round before in my own mind. And if I'm busy loading this up and performing all kind of stuff to get the video compiled, which is very little for me, it's like 10 minutes, but most of that time is loading it from here to my computer. But it may cause me a disruption that I just don't want to deal with, and then I end up going to sleep and I don't remember what I need to do in the next stock round. Whereas once you have all your companies set up, it's very easy to break between a stock round and an operating round, or between two operating rounds. Sometimes sometimes it's a matter of, well, I don't know what my runs are going to be. I don't know what my track's going to be. But I feel like the decisions going from an operating round into a stock round are the really key ones that you don't want to fuck up. Upcoming stock round, we're going to come to the question of what is the value of the last 5 train? This is where you make your projection. In 1870, which this game shares some aspects with, buying the last 5 train is not necessarily a big deal. It's not like buying the last 3 or 4 train, where it might not have a very long shelf life. You really don't want too many of them, whatever. The 5 train is a really interesting decision, because if they're spread out, they don't go away. It's not in anybody's favor to destroy them. There aren't a whole lot of them in this game. There's only 3, right? That's what I'm seeing. 2 of them on the board, 1 of them for sale. If one person manages to get 2 or 3 of them, first of all, they've cluttered up the semi-permanent trains, but they've also made it so valuable for somebody to hit those that they may not, they may not last. But on the other hand, if they're spread out, and what I think we're going to see is a 5 train here, a 5 train here, a 5 train there. It's not really in anybody's interest to take the hit to destroy them. And 3 of the 4 players are sitting on one of them, so they definitely don't want to wreck them, because they're making money off them. So there's only 1 player who's interested in getting rid of them. Of course, that player might be very interested in getting rid of them. It might be worth the hit. We'll see how it sort of plays out there. But yeah, they do not have to end. And just take a look. Look how close we are to the end of the game there, right? And the bank is not huge. These aren't in there. It's $6,000 to start with. It's about half gone. Okay. Once you start getting some big runs, that number is not out of reach. I got it last time. Once you start getting, and you could go beyond it, once you start getting some big runs, that bank could disappear real fast. These stock values could get eaten up, and things could start pushing towards that limit, even up where they are, because this isn't very high. If we're talking about in the 60s, that could be 2 more spaces, and 2 more spaces again. This could be over very quickly. Now, I don't think that's likely, but yeah, I saw lots of different ways this thing can end. All of them seem to be valid. Unfortunately, I'm running low on batteries on everything. That thing's still charging. I don't know if you can see the red light. This one's down in the you're doomed zone. And I really want to get this stock round in, because this is the key point. He's the first player. He gets the choice to start a company or not, and he almost certainly wants to, right? That company's not going to get a 5 train, but it is probably going to get a 6 train. The other, which of course gets rid of the 3s and changes the dynamics everywhere. The next player to go is over here, another player with only 1 company. So I think we're going to see the companies distributed 1 per player. But that was almost or 2 per player. That was almost chance. It might well have turned out that somebody could have afforded a 3rd company just because they had a little extra cash on hand than one of these two players after the purchases. Remember, he was wiped out of his cash by my first mistaken setup, which probably is worthwhile because that's money I can reinvest. But if I don't have another company, I only have one more 20% share, and I'm already at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boy, the pickings ain't good right now. So the two companies that are left, this guy can probably get into something kind of interesting as an end point for the run. May actually be able to get 2 good end points if things work out really well. The other one's over here, and who knows, you know, again, might be able to slip through here. I'm going to leave that up to yellow, though, because that looks too dangerous. It looks to me like yellow will be able to control an important hex for them. So I'm going to go with the brown. I'm going to see how high I can put the rate. Remember, because I can sell shares, getting it as high as possible might be good. But on the other hand, I do need to get a fair amount of cash in there as an influx to begin with. Only $500 though. The trains in this game are cheap. The biggest one is an 850. Think of that compared to like the 1100 on the 1830 diesel. You're beginning to get an idea of. Well, that 1100 is one hell of a hit because that goes from 6 to 1100. Here, you're looking at 355, 700, 850. It's a smoother progression. You don't have some kind of just death blow hitting you. But you could say, well, there's not really room on this map for those big 8 or 10 trains. No, there's not. But there's room for a 3D or a 4D to score you some serious money. I have 4 9s is 360. That sounds like a good starting place. I could throw more money in, but again, keeping some shares in the company is kind of nice. I have 310. Unfortunately for me, I don't have a $55 pink. That would be great because it's not going to go up as much as other things maybe. I don't know. But what I do have is everything else. And then I look at kind of the trains on them, and the only one without a 3 train is pink, the thing I don't have, which makes it more appealing, but who knows? Blue might be picking something up from it. I'm having a hard time, you know, you look at these, and they don't really tell you what the growth potential is. Both pink and blue are in here. That looks like a valuable place that's going to get really valuable, I'm hoping. And then over here, red, yellow, and purple are in another place that's already very valuable. I don't know. I'm not going to get kicked out of here. Part of me says ditch the thing that's got the least stock capability. Now, I ditch this, I don't hurt it. I ditch this, at least I hurt it, so I think I'm going to drop the purple just because it does some stock value damage. It puts me in an ugly position if I do it that way. I put 360 in here. I could sell one to the bank pool, and that puts me up to 450. There is only one 350 train left. Is anybody... Nobody's likely to beat me. Well, it's possible I could get beaten, and then I'd have to sell another share. I have to have 50% out, so that 450 means that extra share will get me this 6 train. But, well, now wait a minute. The 5 train can be bought here for tons of money, but then I could shift some cash and buy it off of that and delay the green another time. I think I'm safe only putting 5 shares out. I was looking at, well, what if could I get another 20% share? But I don't have anything that's going to get me 180 bucks, right? I can't sell greens. I could sell a blue. A blue's 145, 150, 160. That doesn't quite do it. Of course, if I sold one of these, then I could buy that extra 20%. Then I'd have tons of money in here. I'd rather not. I'd rather have the shares in there, so I'll sell the extra one for the 90 bucks. We're sitting in an even worse place. We have less cash on hand, and I don't know, not all that much disposable stock value. We're at 240 sitting there. Now again, you got to start it at that 90 to get enough cash into the kitty that you're able to buy the train. But I think I'm looking at the 5 train right off the bat. Now one nice thing is that initial offering doesn't go down one at a time like it does when you sell during the operating round. So I may plan on dumping more stock. Drop the 20% share in there. Now that's a little weird, because that means if anybody does want to buy my shares for whatever reason, and they don't right now, they're going to be buying 10% shares out of there because they don't want the 20. Having a 10% share in here, or having 10% shares in there, makes a little more sense, except I'm probably going to want to buy my own share to get the extra certificate. Nobody's going to want to buy 2 of anybody else's company, I don't think. No, let me state that correctly. I think no one's going to want to buy 20% of anybody else's company, because everybody's got 2 companies. A little bit of a shift and boom, you're hurt, and they have juggled their trains. That's a good way to get the permanent, the big train in play and kill the 5 trains. It doesn't happen that much in 2038. It does turn out possible in 1870, because again, 1870 has companies kind of like 1830 does, where you can afford to get rid of a company. In 2038, not so much. It's got a more of a 1835 feel to it. So that has gotten us through the first 2 people. He had to sell a blue to get the cash to put his thing together, which doesn't send it down, so no value change there. And now we're on investments, basically. Everyone else is just going to be buying shares. These 2 players are pretty much locked out because they've used up all their cash starting a company. Kind of dicky purchases, throwing the money into the company treasury. That's temporary money. It can buy you a train right now, but it means you don't have that flexibility of choosing when to release the shares, i.e. when you're at the platform or whenever, and you're not going to be getting the income from them, so maybe you have to swallow. We saw that here with green and a yellow in his hands. Actually, the green did not come from here. It came from the stock pool, because all that was sitting there is 20%. That's hard to pull out of there. You don't want to pull your own 20% out for the same basic reason that you don't want to screw your company over in terms of the amount of cash it has. Wow, that does not look healthy. It looked a lot healthier with a big pack of what looked like blues there. I hope they're not supposed to be blues. I don't think they are. And then, because he had to buy the 3 and the 4 train, of course. There was something else I wanted to say about this. My train of thought got lost in a bad tube, apparently. Yeah, so you definitely don't want to pull your own 20%ers out until you feel comfortable, because it may mean swallows, and you're better off investing in other people's stuff. And if you're investing in other people's stuff, you might as well hurt them by throwing the cash into their company, la la la. The same thing as before. Again, these 2 players are done. We're just going to pass them out. They can come back in as in any other XX. But now we've got the 3 there, and I think he has a little bit of cash left. Nobody else does, so let's see where I can find that extra investment. I know I had a plan for it. 105 bucks sounds like a yellow, but I already have one. I do not want to buy my own companies because I can only get one share. Oh no, shit. I was hoping to get 2 shares of my pink that are sitting out here. That's not going to happen. I guess it's going to be a brown I have to buy. Be right. No, it's going to be a red. We don't want brown because it just started. We don't want the browns and blacks, and nobody's buying them up except the people who just started them because they lose a round, one of their operating rounds. I can always exchange shares later. But yeah, the red will make money and I don't have shares of it. But I thought I had enough cash left to buy myself 2 more pinks, and I do not. Since they're just sitting out here, they're not hurting anyone. They would have been the ultimate purchase, but not my option. So everything is up. Now let's see. Who's got cash at what levels? We got a 25 over there, and I think that is our highest. So he gets card number 1. Who gets card number 2? That's 24. That's got to be pretty close. Card number 2. 19 and 21. Card 3 stays. Card 4 goes here. And we're in here. Now remember, the 5s did not kill those permits. It's the last 6 train that does, and that's a big deal because, so far we haven't felt the pinch to use them and whatever, but it's there now. It really is. We're looking at 2 more trains before it dies, and there's 2 new companies out. So the players have to use them up if they're going to use them. They have multiple ways they can do that. One of them is, I sell it to the bank pool, get myself $20. If it's going to crash anyway, what the fuck? On the other hand, that doesn't give you the right to play the piece yet, which might be a big deal. Someone might be breaking down into from there or something, and maybe those are of some value. If the card's not of value to you, though, might as well just sell it to the bank and get the cash on it, unless somebody else can use it. If the card is of value, well, you probably want to use it now. There's one final option, which really only works with these, I guess, which is that you can sell them to a company, destroying them, and getting the cash and the ability to use it all at once. I don't know. Early in the game, that makes a lot of sense. They don't make a lot of money, and $20 early money is really worthwhile. At this point in the game, taking $20 from your company, that's a pretty iffy choice unless you can just see, I got the money, I'm all set, I'm good. I can buy 2 permanent trains of, decent. I got $1,200. I can buy a T8 and a T6. What the hell? Doesn't happen, right? 590s is 450. That's probably what you got sitting around there. But if you can get yourself your 2 permanent trains and guarantee that you get the extra money, or if you can see that it's not going to be that good and you're going to have tons of extra money, that's fine too. But I doubt many people will ever be in that position. So I'm wrapping it up here because it's easier to start with an operating round for the reasons I explained. I'm tired as hell, and I had to push myself into this. I hope I didn't make any horrible mistakes. I think I came close again. I mean, it's not like I didn't already make one, right? But yeah, and that's the kind of thing that if it happens in a real game, wow, that really can blow the whole game to shit. And I've seen that happen. And you're just like, oh. And everybody kind of laughs. Yeah, they played a 12-hour game of 1870 and some bozo fucked it up halfway through. It's probably me. All right, let me swap batteries and load this up.